Let's just jump right in here. Here we go. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. I'm your host, as always, Yona Weiss. Excited to be here on another amazing interview with the one and only Litan Yahav. Litan, I say the one and only because I don't know how many people out there with a name like that. I mean, you got some, at least in the circles we run in, pretty unique. So good to have you on the show. Excited to kind of dive in and talk to you today and catch up.
Yona, I can't even express how excited I am to be on this show with you. Like, you're an amazing person, opinion leader in this world, and I'm just really excited and appreciate to have the chance to get on this show with you. So thanks.
How did we meet in the first place? How did you found me? So I don't know. You found me. I found you. I don't know.
No, I found you. I think like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I just clicked that. You used to have. I don't know if you had it anymore. You used to have this like book a call, like a 15-minute introduction.
Oh yeah.
And I just clicked that, and then we just hit it off a few years ago, and that's really where it started.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love that. And I do still have that. So anyone who's listening to this, you just want to just jump on a call with me. Maybe, take a couple of weeks till you get on my calendar, but go for it. Happy to, connect with new people all the time. And what you've built is also impressive. And I'm just excited to talk about that and maybe give our listeners a little context. Who is Litan Yahav and how did you get started in real estate investing? Because obviously that's kind of common denominator. You have a little bit of a different background than most people who come on this show or like active investors. You have like I said, different background. Just love to hear where you got started.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you a little background, just like context about me and like where I'm from. So I'm 40 years old, married, 3 kids. I was born in the States. Then when I was a child, we moved to Israel, far away. I was in Israel. My story there, sort of, finished high school, got drafted in the military, which is mandatory in Israel. Served for 6 years in the Navy. Finished that, went to school, and studied law and business, and then founded my last startup back in 2012, 2011, in a very weird industry, the diamond and jewelry industry. And what we did basically is we built a technology that enables the trade of diamonds and jewelry around the world without physically shipping them. So it was hardware and software that you put a diamond in, it photographs it from many different angles, creates a 3D image that then a diamond trader can just send the image without shipping the diamond. And
wow.
So we scaled that up. Very lucky to have an amazing team to build a standard in the industry, and sold it back in 2015, stayed on for a few more years to manage and scale the company even more. In 2018, me and my co-founder, Tomar, who's also my co-founder in the current company, decided to move on. At that point, we're about 250 employees, about 5 offices around the world, and basically photographing almost all the diamonds in the world. Today, it's the standard for diamond imagery.
Wow.
Now, we sold the company, we made money, we had a great exit, but it wasn't like a tens of millions of dollars exit. It was enough money for us to take a minute, decide what we want to do next. And so we traveled a bit and iterated some ideas. And obviously we started to manage our money. This was 7 years ago. And at that point, you can imagine like there's a lot of press around it. And we were approached by wealth managers and financial advisors and like, all right, why don't you give us your money? Why don't you give us your money? We said, screw it. Let's just see what we can do on our own. And the cool thing in Israel is that every second person in Israel who has some spare money will invest in real estate abroad, right? Like we always joke about it. You throw a stone, you're going to hit someone that put 50,000 into a single family in Berlin or in Miami without ever seeing it, just like through a guy they know, right? And so we just started to do that. Our first investments were in 2 single family homes in suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, which turned into a shit show. Like it was really, these were really like $60,000 properties, not the best neighborhoods. Right. And even though we had we've never seen anything we've invested in today. Even those 2 single family homes, we didn't see them. We had a guy who found them for us. We had a property management company that managed it for us.
Did you know they were in real? I mean, you verified that they existed and they actually had tenants in them, or?
I mean, the people the person who connected us to buying these properties were good friends of ours.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically our methodology is only to invest with either good friends of ours or good friends of ours. Because trust, like you said, like how do you even know the house exists?
Yeah.
Trust is the biggest. It's the biggest issue, and it's also the biggest barrier to enter, right? So that's like where we overcome that just by investing with people we know.
Right.
But that said, like market can go like bad, and we can also like you can make bad investments. But the thing is that we found investing in personally, right? When we invested in these 2 single family homes, what hit us is that our exposure to risk in terms of these 2 doors is the 2 doors. Like one of them is empty, then we're losing 50%. Or if one of the houses has a problem, then we're screwed. And so like we only sold those 2 single families like a year ago. I mean, we only managed to get rid of them a year ago. But since those 2 investments, we've only invested in sort of like in multifamily syndications, but also ground up development storage in the States and Europe. Anyway, so that's sort of like we'll dive into that in a second.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that was a learning experience.
Yeah, we were starting to invest about 7 years ago. Slowly built a portfolio, which mainly consisted of real estate syndications, private equity, startups, crypto, and the mix. And over the years, our spreadsheets became insane, right? And like we started to become slaves to our own spreadsheets and documents coming in every quarter and K1s every year. And
right.
It was like, it's good problems to have, right? Don't get me wrong, right? These are good problems to have, but there's still problems and we couldn't find a solution for. And like we're tech founders. We're like, all right, so let's just build ourselves a solution. So we built ourselves a tool, a platform to automate as much of this process as possible. That was about 2.5 years ago. And at some point, a bunch of friends and family wanted to use it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, all right, wait, there might be a business here. And then we just started to speak with people like us around the world, mainly in the US, but around the world. And we found that at the end of the day, there are a lot of people like millions of people like us that have to choose between 2 alternatives: using a spreadsheet or paying someone tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it for them. Because when you look at the landscape, there are like 1,500 budgeting apps in the US alone, right? Mint, Personal Capital, and such. But once you add the more complex investments into the mix, you still need to maintain a spreadsheet on the side.
Right.
And so like, I don't want to do that. So we founded Vyzer a year and a half ago, like the company we founded and we're running now, exactly to solve that pain point for us and people like us. And so that's sort of like the backstory of what led us to what we're building now. And obviously a lot of lessons learned throughout the process. Like we've invested over the years in about, I'd say 30 different deals with 11 different syndicators, operators, sponsors. The whole terminology, by the way, around operator, sponsor, syndicator is like totally berserk, right?
Right. A lot of them overlap, and it's kind of hard to know who does what, and what responsibilities they may have.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at the end, so like even when you invested from Israel into these operators in the US, it only hit us like a year or two into investing. It's like, all right, these guys aren't the actual operators. These guys in Israel are the fundraisers, which I mean, legitimate. Like, all right, they give access to people like me to deals I don't have access to. That's cool. But then we started to reach out directly to the operators, and then that's like what we love doing now. I prefer to directly invest with an operator that I trust, know from other people that I've invested with, as opposed to investing through a fundraiser into that operator. That's personally for me. I mean, I'm not saying that fundraisers don't have a right to. They do bring a lot of value, because I mean, they also vet deals for you and they'll vet sponsors and I get all that. But for us, it's like we've done about 11. We've gathered about 11 different operators that we invest with, different types of classes. Things have gone well. We've made mistakes. And yeah, so that's sort of the backstory.
Yeah. So it sounds like Vyzer was, like, just to clarify and reiterate that, it's something that the two of you and Tomar, your partner, were just using spreadsheets, hundreds, probably, dozens, not hundreds, but dozens of spreadsheets, just trying to track everything, track all of your income, your investments, your K1s, your distributions, and everything like that. Now, there are some softwares out there what are like investment management softwares, but they are usually like deal specific, right? Or sponsor specific. So if like you invest with one sponsor or one operator, right? You'll be able to access all, you'll get all your data there. But still, if you're with multiple people, you got to track that and aggregate all that together. So you guys basically built this software on your own. And now at this point, you've branched it out to friends and family, to other people who are interested in using the same type of software. Like, where is it at now? Is it like legitimate, like ready to go? I can go on the Google, Apple App Store and find it and put all my investments in there. Like, where is it at now?
Well, first of all, just to your point on the investment management software, yeah. So there are about 30 companies that give service to the GPs or the operator to communicate with their LPs or investors, right? That's the investor portal. And these softwares are built for the GP or the operator. And as a byproduct for me as an investor. So if I'm invested with these 11 different operators, each of them might have a different investment portal, and I'll have to log into each of them to understand my balance. And so what we're building in Vyzer is also, and this isn't operational yet, but it's still in the works, the ability to bring in all the investments from the different investor portals, so I don't have to log into each of them.
That's great.
And then also, because my value is towards the LPs, essentially, I want to create a situation not just of that visibility of like tracking easily, but also helping people understand, like, where are people investing? Which operators are they investing with? Apparently, without any conflict of interest.
Oh, so let me clarify that. So what you're doing is you're bringing the data from everyone who is on Vyzer, who is invested in deals, and you're bringing it anonymously, I'm assuming, but you're bringing the data from all these different sponsors or operators and real estate deals or private equity, whatever it is, and showing for the community which deals perform the way they do.
Yeah, I mean, in essence, yes. Obviously, there's privacy issues. Like, if someone doesn't want to opt into sharing their information with the community, they don't have to, because obviously, non-disclosure agreements and stuff like that. But yeah, once people opt into this, then people then be able to share their information anonymously with other people within the platform without any conflict of interest, right? Because this is all based on actual transactions in your bank account, because we link in your bank account and we'll identify transactions and then update the performance of an investment based on actual information, not just like what you tell. If you have a document you receive from the sponsor or operator, you'll just forward it or upload it into Vyzer. And then we analyze it and update it in your platform, in your portal as well, so that everything is real, everything is actual, and everything is live. And that way, sort of, you get this, like, there's the industry just is not transparent enough. Like, I've spoken with dozens of different operators. Some have even reached out to me on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I have a deal. You want to check it out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Let's hop on a call," just to humor me, all right? And then I'll talk with these operators, these GPs, and I'll ask them, like, during the conversation, "All right, can you give me some references to people that have invested with you?" And they're like, "Yeah, for sure. Here are 5 people," and they'll introduce me. But then, I go, my thought process is, wait, but how do I know that you gave me the people that were in the bad deals? You're probably just giving me the guys that were in the good deals. I want to speak with the people that were in the bad deals as well. You're never going to connect me with those people, right? And so the other spot operators are these huge operators that are like, they disclose everything and all their track record is public. But these guys are usually like the big guys that, to access their funds, you need a minimum ticket pretty high, or they already have like 1,000 LPs, and I don't want to invest with 1,000 LPs. I want to invest with someone that has 10 LPs or 20 or 50 LPs. So anyway, so that's sort of like the back about sort of that issue of the investment management software and where we see we trickle into that. With regards to like where we're at. So yeah, so we launched a private beta of Vyzer about 7 months ago, with a very small group of sort of LP investors in the US that are in our situation, to make sure we're building in the right direction. 2 months ago, we launched a public version of that beta, so then anyone could basically sign up and play around it. It's fully operational. It's like one of the things that we value most, like, and this might sound like a cliche, but like, we're all military people. Like, I was 6 years in the Navy. My co-founder Tomar was 6 years in Special Forces in the Air Force, and all our team are like military people. Like, we value security more than anything. And also, like, my information is in the platform. I want to make sure that I'm safe, and I also want to sleep well at night knowing that my customers' information is also safe. So everything is like super private and secure. And so we spent a lot of time on that. We actually pay hackers to try and hack us and see where we're vulnerable. Like, we do whatever we can. So that's sort of like a security standpoint. But from a functional standpoint, yeah, so it's fully operational. You can sign up on your own at vyzer.co. You can add your assets, you can link accounts, you can upload documents, you can do whatever you want. Obviously, there's still a lot of things you want to add to bring even more value. And it's also important to emphasize that we are charging for this, right? Because we really believe if you're not paying for the product, you are the product, right? And so we're charging for this product and service starting probably middle of September. And we can dive into that as well, but we're going to charge a flat subscription fee. So people know what they're paying for, what value they get. And so that's sort of like the platform itself and what we believe it'll bring in terms of value.
That's awesome. I think there's so many different ways to go with this and to grow. I mean, like you said, there are millions of people who are in your current situation out there who are investing in, at least one or two investments of some kind, besides for stocks and the, traditional thing. You have your Robinhood and all that kind of stuff. You can kind of track what's going on. But for private equity or for real estate investments, you don't have anything like that to be able to track and to aggregate that data. And I think it's an amazing thing, especially when you're bringing LPs together. I like the idea of like kind of, I don't know if it's exactly like gamifying it, but seeing real data, seeing like, oh, this so-and-so investment company, invested in a 200 unit in Houston, and they're bringing, and they haven't given distributions yet for 2 years when they said they were supposed to, right? Exactly. And from the first quarter.
Yeah. I mean, and I think this sort of opens up a whole philosophical question for us. It's like, I tend to sort of move from believing in generating more wealth and net worth to generating more passive income. Like passive income is really, to me, what matters. And when it's passive income and the emphasis on the passive side of it, right? Because many passive income, I mean, is not passive at all in my mind. When you actively manage a rental property, that is not generating passive income in my mind, right?
100%.
So, and it's a spectrum. I'm not saying that syndication is as an LP is 100% passive, because you need to vet the deal and you need to vet the sponsor, and then you can go and
then you need to track your spreadsheets.
Exactly. Right. So like one of the things that sort of, when you think about it, like when you reach that level where you're invested in multiple deals, 5, 6, 10, 15 of these investments that generate the income ongoing every quarter, like you forget what you invested, how much you invested. And one of the cool things we do is, like, when we link in your bank account, we'll identify transactions in your bank account or multiple bank accounts, and then automatically link each transaction to a specific investment, so that you don't have to remember, you don't have to look for it. We'll automatically raise a flag. Hey, your investment in this and this capital, well, it's performing more than you expected or less than you expected. Automatically. Like, it's like we're trying to keep the passive investing passive. That's right. What, like the and also trying to be that place where you just throw everything at us. So if you look at people that are worth like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, like these people have their family offices to manage stuff for them, right? And we want that approach, right? I want to feel that I can just get an email, just forward it to Vyzer Secure Import, boom, it's uploaded into my account, updated. I don't have to do anything. That's in addition to the passive.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. And it makes a huge difference. I mean, talk about changing the game in terms of the financial advisors who give a pretty, unfortunately, I mean, a lot of them give a little bit of a bad name to the industry, because, if you're a financial advisor and charging like 1% of a person's net worth on a yearly basis, right? I mean, that adds up over time. People don't realize that we're talking about that's on a yearly basis, which means over time, that's just going to compound regardless of whether you're making money or not. And without necessarily even, keeping up with all the things that you want to be doing, meaning giving the sound investment advice. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have told me their financial advisors tell them that investing in real estate syndications is too risky. Like things like that. It just doesn't make sense. And obviously, they may be incentivized for other reasons, but this sounds like, not necessarily having an advisor. I mean, I don't know. Is that a play on the name Vyzer? I just made that connection now.
Yeah. Vyzer basically is sort of also advisor, but also sort of your visors that you put on and sort of like help you navigate. But listen, I think people should have an advisor.
Yeah,
like because we're not diving into the tactical decisions of like how you should reallocate which you sell this stock or buy this bond, right? We're not going to that resolution, right? Because you're going to have someone, either a platform that does it for you or a person. But the idea that they won't usually, these people, as good as they are, usually won't be able to give you the value on the more alternative stuff.
Right.
Right. And if they do, they can give you maybe access to a feeder fund to a huge like Apollo or BlackRock or Blackstone, right? But the smaller stuff, like if you put money into a startup, they're not going to help you with that. Or if you put money into a syndication, they're not going to help you with that either. So you're going to, even if you use a financial advisor or wealth manager, you still need to maintain it additionally. And then it's on top of that $10,000 a year. And even again, going back to terminology.
Yeah.
Like wealth manager, financial advisor, the term is like, what? They do not do financial advice. Like they manage your public portfolio, right? Usually, unless you have a family office, they don't deal your like the holistic financial. Usually, I'm sure
There are exceptions for sure.
there are
Absolutely. There's always
exceptions,
exceptions.
but many times it's like, yeah, I mean, I've spoken with many financial advisors and wealth managers, and when I tell them about my situation, they're like, okay, well, I can help you with your retirement accounts and brokerage accounts. All the rest, I'm sorry, but I can't help you with. So
because they have they're incentivized to deal with, to handle those accounts.
Yeah, but and also their knowledge is in those accounts.
Right. In most cases.
In most cases, correct. Yeah. Always put that full disclaimer. Yeah.
Exactly. So what's interesting is, I mean, what you're saying totally rings true with me. And I actually just a few weeks ago or last week, the recording of this, I was at the GOB Network conference in Chicago, and I actually moderated a panel about passive investing. And so the panelists, each one of them, there's 4 of them, each one of them have at least a couple dozen passive investments, like LP investments in real estate. And so we're just talking about, how to vet sponsors and how to, find out what's a good deal. And one of the things that came up was exactly this, which was, how do you manage, how passive is being a passive investor really? Because if you're like tracking all your spreadsheets, and then one of the panelists mentioned to me that he's, very careful and cautious about security and doesn't like to even store any of his passwords online. So he has them, separate. And so he's in 20 different of these investment management portals that he has to find the password for, and log in. And it's time consuming. And it really does. You just kind of lose track at a certain point. And I think having a tool like this is just incredible. So I'm a big fan. Obviously, you can tell. We've been in discussions for, like you said, for a couple of years since when you started this, and it's pretty exciting to see a startup go from very early stages to pre-beta, beta, and then launching. And God willing, it should go well and successful, and get a great name in the industry. I definitely know myself would be useful, and many people I know, and hopefully a lot of the listeners can find this useful. I want to ask you, before we get into the final 4, is what's driving you? I mean, what's your why? You talked about passive investing. You talk about, keeping it passive and building this company, which is kind of, it's funny. You started with a great company, you sold it off, and then, kind of building something just for yourself. And like, this is something that maybe benefit other people. Like, let's do it more. And what's the end goal, if there is one? And, if you have like a why, as cliche as that.
I mean, for me, I have an itch for inefficiencies. Like I hate when things aren't efficient, and I even hate more when things are inefficient and there's a conflict of interest when people try to make them more efficient. And so I think that what we're trying to achieve here is bringing a lot of that, like solving a lot of the inefficiency and bringing a lot of transparency to an industry that doesn't have any. And so that's like what we're trying to build on. And like we really believe in bringing as much value as we can to us and people like us, without ever compromising that value. So that's what, like the why, because we just believe that something like that doesn't exist for people like us.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, that's the theme of every startup entrepreneur, right? Finding something that doesn't exist and bringing it to the market and adding value where people like yourself can get value from it.
Right. But I just, on that point, I do think that many startups, and that's not a wrong thing to do, but they'll look for an opportunity because it's an opportunity.
Gotcha.
And they'll try and make money off of that opportunity, which is not a bad thing, right? There's merit there. Just for me, where we're at, we want to solve a real problem, bring value, and because we bring so much value, it's worth money to people to pay for it, so we can keep on building and bringing more value.
Right.
That's sort of like the way we see it. Yeah.
Makes sense. Awesome. Well, like I said, it's an amazing thing. I love to see things come to like life like this. And I just want to transition now to what we call the final four. These are four questions, get to know you a little better about some background. And first question is, what is the worst job that you ever had?
I'd say that when I'd say 16 or 17, I that was the first and last time I ever worked as a waiter. And I remember I was taking a bill from a table and I swiped the credit card the wrong way. And at the end of the shift, I got like the boss got angry at me for doing that. I said, screw this, I'm not gonna do this anymore. And I just left.
What? For just swiping the card the wrong way? That seems pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That was just a few days. Like I only stayed on for a few days and I left. It's like that's the worst job I ever had.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess I assume your time in the military was all peaches then.
Well, I mean, it's not the worst time. I think the military had some like, I mean, we look retrospect at the military service. I think it gave me so much more than what it cost me
Mm-hmm.
for life.
For sure.
Right. It's like one of those places where you're educated to think about everything else other than yourself, which is, I think, a very important ability or characteristic that more people need to think about, not just themselves, but people around them.
100%. No, that's a great perspective to have. Second question, excuse me. What's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
Yeah, so I mean, there's one book that I always recommend because it's the only book I've ever finished and immediately started reading again. I mean, listening to, right? Because I did an audible, which is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like one of those, it's also a fun book to read, and it's also super, super informative. And there's so many like golden nuggets within it. With sort of everything like from negotiating with my kids to get out of bed and get ready for school to closing like a fundraising for a company. It's like anything in the middle is sort of like psychological aspects and stuff like that. So that's sort of like one of the powerful books I've read.
Yeah, that's an amazing book. And it's a very easy read. I mean, a lot of stories, a lot of anecdotes, and
Exactly.
and the psychology is just incredible. So that's an awesome book, guys. If you haven't checked that out, we'll put that in the show notes for you to look up. Third question, what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn? And this could be anything.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if it's a skill or talent, but I'd love to get more into meditation because I feel like stress in my life as you move forward in this world of investing and building a startup and family is just like exponentially grows, and meditation I feel would help a lot with that. So I want the patience to meditate. I think that would be it's a like counterintuitive, but yeah, that's I think one of those things
Yeah.
I try to emphasize.
Okay. Well, it's definitely a lot out there. Just there, yeah, 100%. That's awesome. That's a great skill to have. And it's not really like a skill or talent, but it's something, to focus on more.
Right.
It really is a skill to be able to have the patience to meditate. It really is a skill. So, fourth and final question. I'm like getting my numbers mixed up today. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth question. There's only 4 questions, Yona. You can get it right. What does success mean to you?
That's another great question. I think for me, success is like when you achieve that level of freedom where you can really do what you're passionate about, regardless of anything. So I'd say success for me leads to freedom, but that's like on a personal aspect. But from an external point, I think it's bringing value to as many people as possible. That's like the outbound side of success in my world, in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, there's one leads into the other. Yeah, absolutely. So, good for you. It's a great definition and great, way to view the world and view life. How to add value to others. That's really what it's all about. And to be able to do whatever you can, having the financial success, to be able to do whatever you want, wherever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. That's something that a lot of our guests say. Litan, it's been incredible talking to you, catching up. Where can our listeners find you or reach out to you?
First of all, thank you so much, Yona. This has been amazing. Yeah, so I'm on, you can reach out to me, litan@vyzer.co on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, like wherever. I'm pretty active on all those channels.
All right. So we'll make sure to put that in the show notes for anyone else to check out Litan and Vyzer. And just to clarify, guys, Vyzer is actually spelled Vyzer. Okay, so we've been talking about a visor. It's not spelled like the way the hat goes on your head, but Vyzer.co. We'll put that in the show notes, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. It's really, really been awesome, and appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Yona.
And to our listeners, thank you guys for joining once again until the end. And remember, the best advice comes only when you ask.